Welcome back, everybody. These are the best horror films of the year 2003. These are all the horror films that came out that year worldwide, made for TV, cable TV, VHS rental, straight to video. I have all the video titles that you want for 2003. These are all the scary movies that scared you, the bejeebus out of you. Jeepers, they were thrilling and totally terrifying. Totally terrifying movies, alright? So join me here at Yesteryear TV. If you haven't already, click subscribe, hit that notification bell. Let's go ahead and check out the massive list of all the best horror films, all the horror films that came out in 2003. Let's check them out. Anatomy 2. Joe starts as an intern in a Berlin hospital researching bionic muscle enhancement. Despite warnings, he joins an anti-Hippocratic group interested in results, not laws or body counts. Anatomy 2. Arachnia. When a small research plane carrying a group of science students and their professor crash lands in the middle of nowhere, the survivors go to a nearby farmhouse to look for help, but soon find themselves besieged by giant mutant spiders. Bells of Innocence. Chuck Norris ventures into the West to stop a horde of ghosts in their deadly path. Horror. Bells of Innocence. Hi-ya! Hi-ya! Karate chops. Right. Next thing we have is Beyond Reanimator. After 13 years in prison, the mad scientist from Reanimator gets a new chance to experiment with the arrival of a young prison doctor who secretly hopes to learn to reanimate dead people. Good intentions turn to horror. Dark comedy zombie horror. Beyond the Limits. Vivian tracks down Frederick, a caretaker to an old cemetery, to hear a story of two people connected by a mysterious past. Supernatural horror. Beyond the Limits. Black Cadillac. Three young men become terrorized in a high-speed car chase with a mysterious pursuant. Black Cadillac, horror and thriller. This movie is creepy and good, suspenseful. Alright, look at the movie poster. Look. Bloody Murder 2, Closing Camp. A girl named Tracy is with a bunch of teens closing up camp. She keeps having dreams about her brother who disappeared there, and it was rumored he was killed by Trevor Morehouse. And of course, guess who shows up for blood? Bugs. I love Bugs. An entomologist accompanies a team of commandos to prevent prehistoric insects from escaping from a subway system. Bugs. Action horror adventure. Cheerleader Massacre. 5 high school cheerleaders, their coach, and a couple of adolescent sex-crazed guys travel to a cabin in the woods for a weekend getaway, only to be killed off one by one by an unseen maniac. We love these massacre films. Cold Creek Manor. A family relocates from the city to a dilapidated house in the country that was once a grand estate. As they begin renovations, they discover their new home harbors a secret and may not be completely free of its former inhabitants. Dark Wolf. An LAPD cop whose partner was murdered by a werewolf must protect a woman called Josie, who's hybrid, after he realizes that the werewolf wants to mate with her. Dark Wolf. I just saw this movie. It was really good. Dark Woods. Camp Vernon, quiet, peaceful, away from things. Adventure, comedy, horror, and thriller. It's dark, it's quiet, and you're all alone. Or are you? Dark Woods. Darkness Falls. A vengeful spirit has taken the form of the Tooth Fairy to exact vengeance on the town that lynched her 150 years earlier. Her only opposition is the only child now grown up who has survived her before. Dark Walker. Dark Walker centers around a haunted house amusement park near Fresno. Horror sci-fi. You were right to fear Dark Walker. Horror and sci-fi. Dead End. Christmas Eve, on his way to his in-laws with his family, Frank Harrington decides to try a shortcut for the first time in 20 years. It turns out to be the biggest mistake of his life. Dark comedy supernatural horror. Deadly Swarm. A lunatic scientist unleashes a swarm of killer wasps on an unsuspecting town. As the body count rises, one man emerges as the town's only hope for survival. Deadly Swarm. Deep Shock. A mysterious trench has formed on the ocean floor, and a deadly species of creatures emerge from the depths. Action, adventure, horror, and sci-fi. Deep Shock. Look at that monster. Looks like Jaws, right? Jaws. Delta, Delta, Die. Every so often, boys disappear from the Delta House, a sorority suspected to be based on cannibalism. Horror. Popular, rich, deadly. Delta, Delta, Die. I'm in a fraternity, sorority. Delta, Delta, Die. What? Descendant. A young novelist tormented by his family's history and haunted by the specter of his long-dead, more famous ancestor, falls in love with a woman, a distant relative of his ancestor, whose friends and family begin to disappear mysteriously. Despiser. Having just been fired and dumped by his wife, life couldn't possibly be worse for independent artist Gordon, until he wreaks havoc in his car and finds himself in purgatory. Fantasy and horror. Despiser. Look at that monster. Detour. Look at that tarantula. A group on their way to a rave become involved in a string of events that leaves them stranded in a desert. What follows is nights of terror as they are set upon by a gang of drug-crazed cannibals. Detour. Devil's Harvest. Evil awaits artist Daniel when he accepts an invitation to return to his hometown. Soon Daniel's recurring nightmares return. Disturbing events begin to occur, and his long-forgotten secret rides in on the coattails of a vengeful demon. The Diary of Ellen Rimbauer. The wife of an oil tycoon becomes engrossed in the sinister evil residing with her Seattle mansion home. The Diary of Ellen Rimbauer. Drama, horror, mystery, and thriller. Dr. Jekyll and Mistress Hyde. Dr. Jackie Stevenson is a Los Angeles-based therapist and scientist who tries to invent a serum to separate the pure from the lustful side of the female psychosis. Drama, horror, and sci-fi. Dracula 2 Ascension, another great movie. In this haunting sequel to Wes Craven's Dracula 2000, a group of medical students discover the body of an infamous count. This movie is good. If you like vampires and Dracula, you'll love this. Dreamcatcher. Friends on a camping trip discover that the town they're vacationing is being plagued in an unusual fashion by parasitic aliens from outer space. Dreamcatcher. Body horror, drama, horror, and thriller. Chupacabra. The world seen through the eyes of two people, the inequities of society exposed and examined in depth in a most surreal manner. Real terror is here. A new species has evolved, and a chupacabra. Endangered species. A killing machine from another world comes to Earth to kill humans. Endangered species. Horror, sci-fi, and thriller. Look at that face. Alright, next up we have is Evil Breed, The Legend of Sam Hain. Remember Sam Hain on Halloween? Two American tourists on a romantic camping trip are brutally murdered. A few days later, during the ancient festival of Samhain, a group of U.S. college students moves into a beautiful cottage surrounded by a lush forest and majestic lake. Evil Never Dies. After his wife is brutally murdered, a policeman transfers to patrol duty at a college, only to discover that the now executed murderer may be brought back to life as part of a professor's experiment. Evil Never Dies. Exhumed. Straight to video. 3 stories across the centuries of individuals given the power to raise the dead. Set in feudal Japan, 1940s, USA, and a post-apocalyptic future. Action, horror, and sci-fi. Fear of the Dark. 12-year-old Ryan Billings has been diagnosed with an acute fear of the dark. He spends each night lying awake in torment, waiting and watching as the evil and darkness grow stronger. Fear of the dark. Don't close your eyes. Final Destination 2. This movie was a scorcher. Death is stalking Kimberly Corman and multiple survivors of a deadly highway accident. You can never cheat death. Splatter horror. I love it. Right? Flesh for the Beast. 6 parapsychologists investigate a reputed haunted mansion and are set upon by 3 flesh-eating succubus ladies under the control of the sinister warlock. Flesh for the Beast. Fantasy and horror. Alright, this movie was awesome. Freddy vs. Jason. Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees return to terrorize the teenagers of Elm Street. Only this time, they're out to get each other too. Freddy vs. Jason. We love Freddy vs. Jason. Right, Gothica. A psychiatrist awakens as a patient in a mental institution. With no memory of the murder she's accused of committing. As she tries to regain her memory, a vengeful spirit manipulates her. Gothica. Horror, mystery, and thriller. Hangman's Curse. Bullying students at Rogers High School are dying from screams about a legendary ghost. The Veritas Project, a trained investigative team, is working undercover to uncover the truth to protect the students from their own fear. Horror, mystery, and thriller. Right? Hatchet Man. A serial killer stalks a college student and her friends. Slasher, horror, drama, horror, and mystery. Hatchet Man, this was straight to video. When I say straight to video, you would go to your rental video store and rent the video. Hey, stop stabbing me. Again, straight to video. Recent college graduate Herman has just taken up residence in an apparently great house with apparently great roommates. One by one, people start to die. Murder, mayhem, and mowers. High tension. Best friends Maria and Alexa decide to spend a quiet weekend at Alexa's parents' secluded farmhouse. But on the night of their arrival, the girls' idyllic getaway turns into an endless night of horror. Holla, If I Kill You. This is straight to video. Once the hottest comic in America, Hollaback's name was in hip-hop songs all over the media, making Eminem look like MC Hammer. Then in a flash, one by one, people start to die. House of a Thousand Corpses. 2 young couples traveling across the backwoods of Texas, searching for urban legends of murder, end up as prisoners of a bizarre and sadistic backwater family of serial killers. Splatter, horror, and horror. House of the Dead. A group of college students travels to a mysterious island to attend a rave, which is soon taken over by bloodthirsty zombies. House of the Dead. This movie is a scorcher. I'll See You in My Dreams. In a village inexplicably haunted by a plague of zombies, Lucio, an honest worker, is the only person who can fight them. Horror. I'll See You in My Dreams. I like that title. I'll See You in My Dreams. The Uninvited. An engaged interior designer sees 2 small girls on the subway train that die there. He sees them again in his apartment. A woman he meets can also see them. He talks to her about his forgotten childhood. The Uninvited. Into the Mirror. An ex-cop now working as a security guard in a shopping mall tries to uncover the secret behind a series of mysterious deaths linked to mirrors. Into the Mirror. Horror, mystery, and thriller. Alright, this movie is awesome. Jeepers Creepers 2. Set a few days after the original, a championship basketball team bus is attacked by the Creeper, the winged flesh-eating terror, on the last day of his 23-day feeding frenzy. Jeepers Creepers 2. We love it. Ju-on, The Grudge 2. As their curse spreads on, the ghosts find their chance to live once again through the pregnancy of a cursed woman. Drama, horror, mystery, and thriller. Ju-on, The Grudge 2. Kill them and eat them. Plunge into a putrid abyss of gore, garnished gruesomeness, and slime-soaked sin, as the sinister Dr. Gore turns soft flesh into hideous mutant skin. Dark comedy, horror, mystery, and sci-fi. Killer Rats. Tabloid reporter Samantha goes undercover at the Brookdale Institute to break a story about celebrity drug addicts, but she soon discovers that the real scoop is far more terrifying. Killer rats. Killer clowns from Kansas on crack. Killer clowns. After being fired from the rodeo, 3 clowns and a giant chicken get involved with mind-altering drugs that send them on a bloody rampage across Kansas. Horror. This was straight to video. Leeches. This was straight to video. Common type aquatic leeches grow to large size after feeding on steroid-laced blood of a number of college endurance swimmers, and then the nasty creatures lay siege to the entire campus for more. Leprechaun 6. Back to the Hood. When Emily Woodrow and her friends happen upon a treasure chest full of gold coins, they fail to heed the warnings of a wise old psychic. Dark comedy, supernatural horror. Leprechaun 6, Back in the Hood. Little Aaron Merriweather. Once upon a time, death preyed upon a New England college campus. Rumors swirl that if you see a flash of red, you're dead. Psychological thriller, horror, and thriller. Little Aaron Merriweather. Lost Things. 4 teenagers escape to a deserted beach for a weekend of discovery, only to find that their dreams turn into nightmares. I love these slasher films. I love it. Teen horror, horror thriller. Right? Next one we have is Midsummer. Christian's sister commits suicide. Why? After his 4 friends graduate secondary school, they head off to a Swedish cabin for midsummer as previous years. Strange things happen. Is it her sister's spirit? Midsummer. Mimic. Sentinel. A man enclosed in a plastic bubble, his sister and their best friend must defend an apartment complex from the mutant Judas breed insects. Mimic. I think these are giant cockroaches. Horror, sci-fi, and thriller. Monster Man. 2 guys and a female hitchhiker are terrorized by a monstrous-looking man driving a monster truck. Adventure, comedy, horror, and thriller. Monster Man. We love Monster Man. Right? Moonchild. The story of love and friendship on the harsh streets of 2014 Malepa, a small corner in Asia. Moonchild. We love Moonchild. Right, next that we have is LD50 Lethal Dose. A group of 7 young animal rights activists get more than they bargained for when they enter a lab that performs dangerous experiments. Horror. LD50 Lethal Dose. Right? No Return. Following her husband's death, a young woman gets involved with another man, but begins to fear that her husband's spirit is returning from the grave to claim her. Horror thriller. No Return. We love it. We love it. One Missed Call. Yumi tries to assuage the fears of a friend, Yoko, who has received a disturbing voicemail from herself. In the message, Yoko screams while chatting with Yumi. 3 days later, the exact call plays out and Yoko dies. One Missed Call. We love One Missed Call. Open Water. I love this movie. Based on the true story of 2 scuba divers accidentally stranded in shark-infested waters after their tour boat has left. This was sad and gripping. Just to think that they died out there. Either they drowned or they got eaten up by sharks. Operation Nazi Zombies. A team of Army Special Forces is sent to a secluded secret biological weapons facility, only to fall prey to the specimens of Nazi experiments. Operation Nazi Zombies. Psycho Santa. While en route to holiday gathering, young Ron teases his wife about the legend of backwoods Santa with an axe to grind. However, when the legend comes to life, the Christmas bash turns into a holiday bloodbath. We love it. We love it. Alright, Puppet Master, The Legacy. Peter Hertz, who was rescued from the Nazis as a child, is now an old man and has inherited the puppets. Fantasy, horror, sci-fi. The puppets come to life and start killing people. Red Riding Hood. This evocative chiller from director Giacomo follows the fortunes of a young 12-year-old girl named Jenny. Drama, horror, and thriller. Red Riding Hood. Lots of killings and jump scares in this movie. Redwater. This was straight to TV. A group of oil workers being held hostage by a group of gangsters on a small oil rig are attacked by a freshwater bull shark. So these are thugs from the hood on the oil rig getting eaten by sharks. Rise of the Chupacabras. A group of local townsfolk are led by a treasure hunter into a nearby mine in search of gold, but encounter a vampiric Chupacabra monster and the townsfolk that the beast has turned into murderous slaves. Alright, the original Saw. David, an orderly at a hospital, tells his horrific story of being kidnapped and forced to play a vile game of survival. Saw. Horror short thriller. This was the original Saw. Scarecrow Slayer. College freshman is killed during a fraternity prank and is resurrected as a demonic scarecrow and gets his revenge. Action, drama, and horror. I love it when people die accidentally, but they come back and get revenge. I love it. Look, I'll show you. Screaming Dead. Sleaze photographer Roger and 3 beautiful models take up residence in a reportedly haunted old building, an ideal location for Neil's photographic study in terror. Slasher horror. Screaming Dead. Severe injuries. A bumbling and inept serial killer stalks the residents of a sorority house and finds himself up against a murderous competitor for the body count. Parody, satire, comedy, and horror. Severe injuries. Shark Zone. A man with a fear of sharks is forced by a Russian crime syndicate to find sunken treasure in the breeding grounds for a shoal of a man eating great white sharks. So this is spooky. If you like shark movies, it's a good movie. I love the title of this. Shredder. At an exclusive secluded North American ski resort on Rocky Mountain Road, brutal slashing, severing, and beheading on a group of teenagers are taking place. Parody, slasher horror, teen horror. Shredder. I love it. You can take the chairlift up, but you'll never come down. Alright, silent warnings. In a small Oregon town, mysterious crop circles have begun appearing in Joe's cornfields. Horror, sci-fi, and thriller. Silent warnings. You can feel the fear. I love it. Subterrano. 11 souls trapped in an underground car park are attacked by deadly remote-controlled toys. Only a few will survive. Horror and sci-fi. Subterrano. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. After picking up a traumatized young hitchhiker, 5 friends find themselves stalked and hunted by a deformed chainsaw-wielding loon and his family of equally psychopathic killers. Psychological horror, slasher horror, horror. The Bog Creatures. 5 young adults venture into a bog to excavate some bodies. After a while, they find that bodies have been buried in the bog, have risen from the dead, and seek to pick them off one by one. The Bog Creatures. The Brotherhood 3. Young Demons. A group of devil-may-care teenagers discover they mistakenly called upon the Prince of Darkness in this flashy horror story. Horror thriller. The Brotherhood 3. Young Demons. Not a killing in this movie. You'll love it. The Ghouls. Eric Hayes is a video vulture preying on human violence and suffering, selling his footage to the highest bidder. Eric's about to discover something beneath the streets, even hungrier for blood than he is. He's about to discover the ghouls. The Janitor. Lionel is a custodian that longs for more. Bombarded with daily disrespect and insults from his co-workers, Lionel sets on a path of revenge and begins to brutally murder everyone in his path. We love Lionel, the Janitor. Comedy and horror. The Undertow. 6 friends enter the strange town of Old Mines for a weekend float trip. They quickly realize that the town is not friendly to strangers. Horror. This was straight to video. The Undertow. We love The Undertow. The Great American Snuff Film. 2 pretty young women are abducted to be the featured stars of a snuff film produced by a pair of low-life goons. Crime and horror. Is it real, or is it just acting? You have to watch the film to find out. The Locals. 2 best friends, Grant and Paul, hit the country road for a night of fun, but unfortunately take a shortcut to their fate, where they meet the locals. Doesn't that always happen? You take a shortcut when you shouldn't to save time, whatever, but you end up dead or something happens. The Bone Snatcher. After miners disappear in the Nambi Desert, scientists find the remains and seek to find what killed him. The Bone Snatcher. This movie is good. Horror, mystery, sci-fi, and thriller. The Hitcher 2, I've Been Waiting. A sadistic serial killer terrorizes a couple driving on a rural highway in Texas while killing numerous people and framing them for his killings. The Hitcher, this was straight to video, right, with C. Thomas Howell. The Last Horror Movie. A serial killer uses a horror video rental to lure his next victim. What begins as a teen slasher transforms into a disturbing journey through the mind of Max Perry. Dark comedy, found footage horror. The Last Horror Movie. Toe Tags. The high-rent district of Valley Creek apartments seems to be a magnet for beautiful people, those who can afford to live there. But the rent has just gone up and it's costing residents their lives. Horror, mystery, and thriller. Toe Tags. Treasure Hunt. A group of contestants vying for $10 million on a tropical island. Comedy, horror, and mystery. Treasure Hunt. This was straight to video, okay? Just so you know, when they go straight to video, they're pretty bad. The Undead. A quaint Australian fishing village is overcome by meteorites that turn its residents into the ravenous undead, leaving a small group of those unharmed to find a way out. The Undead, dark comedy and horror. Underworld. Celine, a vampire warrior, is entrenched in conflict between vampires and werewolves, while falling in love with Michael, a human who is sought by werewolves for unknown reasons. Dark fantasy, supernatural fantasy, and horror. Vampire Vixens. A female vampire teams up with a nerdy delivery boy to help her bring in female victims, while a suave business executive vampire slayer plots to kill her. Vampire Vixens. This was straight to video. That means it was low budget. Vlad. Death and spiritual torment stalk 3 American students visiting the Carpathian Mountain, homeland of Vlad Tepes. You remember, you heard of Vlad the Impaler? Well, here's Vlad. What's your name? Vlad. Stay away from Vlad. Terrarium. 12 astronauts volunteer to pioneer a colony on a newly discovered planet. They awake from their frozen 15-year sleep to discover that the ship has crashed and that they are trapped in their cryotubes. Webs. An electrical crew stumbles into a parallel universe dominated by a mutated spider. Action, fantasy, horror, and sci-fi. This was straight to video. That means it's low budget, and it goes right to... Actually, this was a TV movie. Willard. A young man with an unusual connection to rats uses them at his own sociopathic will. Dark comedy, drama, horror, revenge, thriller. So this has Crispin Glover. So this is a very good film. Wise Guys versus the Zombies. 2 of New York's most feared hitmen are given the task for transporting 3 bodies and a new drug to Miami. En route, they encounter trouble in the form of hillbilly zombies created by the very drug they are to deliver. This was straight to video. Wrong Turn. We love Elijah Dushku. Chris and a group of 5 friends are left stranded deep in the middle of the woods after their car collides. As they venture deeper in the woods, they face an uncertain and blood-curdling fate. Wrong Turn. Slasher horror, splatter horror. Zombiegeddon. Zombies are taking over the world. Horror. Now this was straight to video, which means it was low budget. No-name actors, B-rated actors, C-rated actors, but it's still corny and fun nonetheless. And lastly, we have Zombie Gore. This was straight to video. A deranged doctor tries to make a new breed of super soldier by performing horrible experiments on innocent people in his back garden. Zombie Gore. Horror. Those were all the horror films, the best horror films that came out in 2003. The most common denominator in 2003, many of these movies were Japanese movies, Japanese horror films. A lot of them were straight to video. Because remember, back in the early 2000s, we're in 2003, video renters were basically, I don't think there was Netflix. There may have been Netflix, maybe later. So if you know about the Netflix history, let me know. But I do know that in the early 2000s, VHS rentals were huge. You can go to your store, drugstore, grocery stores. They have little kiosks, Blockbuster Video, Hollywood Video. There's other video stores I forgot. Anyways, renting video were all the rage back then. So a lot of these movies were straight to video, not necessarily made for TV. They were made for TV movies where you put on the TV, cable TV, and these movies would show up on Sci-Fi Network or whatever. But straight to video, you would go to your video rental store and you would find these movies there under the horror section. So that's where these straight to video films were found. So I noticed in the early 2000s, a lot more releases of horror films were done, not so much for the studios and theaters. The major, the big name movies were released in the theaters. The low budget ones were picked up by smaller studios, but they went straight to DVD, straight to VHS in 2003, or straight to TV, whatever network would pick it up. But what were some of your favorite horror films of 2003 that you remember from that year? The 2000s were very, eclectic. You had monster movies, you had zombie movies, you had some Dracula movies in there, you had a lot of slasher films in there, you had alien creature movies in there, Japanese films of horror films in there. So you had a lot of type of genres in the horror that would satisfy you. Monsters, zombies, Draculas, like killer pythons, snakes, tarantulas. You had shark movies, you had crocodile movies. So you had all types of horror movies and sci-fi movies and alien movies in 2003. So again, let me know what were some of your favorite horror movies that you remember watching in 2003. All right, so stay tuned for the best horror films, all the horror films of 2004 coming at you real soon. All right, if you haven't already, click subscribe, hit that notification bell. Any comments, questions, or feedback, leave them below. Thank you all for joining me. I'm glad you're enjoying this series because we all love horror films, and we got a ways to go, but we're almost done with the horror film genre, and we have other surprises coming your way at Yesteryear TV. Any input, any feedback, leave them below. And again, it's great to be back with all of you. And I love horror films. And again, this is just a list that I was able to compile on my own time because a lot of people like to see as many horror films as they can. A lot of great new movies coming out in 2025, but there's a lot of movies that came out years before us in the 2000s and 1950s and 60s and 70s and 80s that we don't know about, we haven't seen, we don't remember, we want to see, we want to find them because we love horror. So if you can find these films, I encourage you to watch them. And so by my giving you the little synopses, little plots of each film, maybe it will intrigue you to go look for them online. A lot of these movies you can probably find online or on streaming services or at Movies Unlimited. I highly recommend a website called Movies Unlimited because there you can buy movies on DVD and Blu-ray and so on that website. It's called moviesunlimited.com. Not sponsored, but I don't know of any other place to buy DVDs. I still buy DVDs, so I love DVDs. All right, so I'm Tony. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next video. Stay tuned for our next video. Will be the best horror films of the year 2004. You're going to notice that the movie counts are going to start getting bigger and bigger. You'll be like, damn, they made a lot of horror movies. You'll see. All right, I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.